And hello, welcome to the Social Justice Forum. I am your host, Daren Jaime. We thank you for joining us. If you ask the question, what is the show all about? We bring you a forum discussing and providing a deeper understanding of the issues and inequities that many communities face, from systemic inequalities to pressing social problems. Our guests provide multiple perspectives and insights, helping us better understand and address the challenges. So we invite you to stay connected to us. The Social Justice Forum starts now. And welcome back. With a career that spans multiple industries and continents, our next guest is a 5-time New York Emmy Award-winning producer, a global strategist, a force multiplier for youth advocacy, utilizing experiential media and financial literacy programs. She's creating pathways to guiding young men and women towards equitable and sustainable futures. She'll help us unpack the initiatives and programs that are empowering at-risk youth, both domestically and globally, as well as share how she's turned her passion into purpose and purpose into platform. And please join me in welcoming founder and CEO of New York-based not-for-profit organization, Girls with Knowledge, Inc., and Girls with Knowledge Global, Marcelle Lashley-Kaboré. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to have you.
I'm going to add a P to that intro.
Listen.
Purpose, passion, and profit.
That's it. Come on, bring the we need the profit.
That's right. We're talking about financial literacy. We're going to talk about profit, too. We're going to make some money. Yeah.
Absolutely. You have to talk about those things because really, in a time like this, economics are challenging.
Yeah.
The economy is just, where it is. And socially, a lot is going on, and you're doing a great job of trying to fill in the gaps. So I'll start first with give a little background as to the organization.
Wow. Well, we are Girls with Knowledge, GWK Global now because we are global. Mm-hmm. It's been 10 years, so this is our 10th year of service, and we are operating here in New York City, all throughout the 5 boroughs, as well as in Westchester County, and 5 countries, now 6 countries in West Africa. Awesome. So we're looking to expand and continue to grow with a new initiative that we have coming up. I'll tell you a little bit about that later. Mm-hmm. But it's been amazing. It's been an amazing journey. And GWK started right here in the Bronx.
Really?
Yeah. So we're really excited to, really be back home here with you.
You started off with this career in marketing, and then you decided that you were going to make this transition. And obviously, a very healthy and a very impactful transition. Yeah. What was the turning point for you to say, listen, I want to start over and do this?
I think there were a number. Mm-hmm. There were a number of catalytic moments that happened in my career. First of all, looking around the room, especially in production at a high level, and being the only woman. Mm-hmm. Not just the only woman of color, sometimes the only woman.
Right.
Right? And then wanting to expand that and not have it be that I'm the only one. And we're talking about, producing for the likes of Ryan Seacrest and Amazon and Apple and Verizon, right? Then also looking at some of the experiential events that I was producing it was really just the psychology, right? Mm-hmm. Understanding that if I can create a moment between a product and a consumer, I can convince that consumer that they needed that product more than anything. And in my mind, I'm like, if it's all about, touching it and tasting it and feeling it and having this emotional connection to it, then why wouldn't we approach education the same way for young people?
Right.
Right? As technology continued to increase, social media increases, the world is digital, but then you go to the classrooms, and especially back then when we first started GWK, you go to the classrooms, and the classrooms are stagnant. And the approach to education is like back in the day, even with how the classroom is set up, right. And the tools that we're using and the technology tools, but also the approach, so why wouldn't education be just as glamorous and sexy and fast-paced and digitized as, the world is, especially for adults, right? If we're doing that for adults to get them to spend their money or to get them to buy into something, why wouldn't we do that with young people when it comes to education and when it comes to things that we really need them to grasp a hold of and value?
So you take young people and say, listen, we want to put you on an equal playing field. You want to bring equity to...
Absolutely.
Right. So this process has been long for you, but at the same time, you said, listen, I got to do it. So for those who are part of the program, walk me through the program and what your participants get?
Well, the program looks different for every community in every school. So one of the things that we're really proud of is curating programming. Right. So it's not just cookie cutter, one-stop shop. You know, you're going to go to our program in Brooklyn, you know, in Crown Heights or in Bed-Stuy, you know, where our population might be predominantly Afro-Caribbean and African-American, or our program in the South Bronx, where our participants may be West African, or our program in Bronxnet, where it's predominantly Latina. It's going to look different. The thing that's going to be consistent is the equity, right? The education, the access, the opportunity, the action. That's going to be a consistent thread throughout our program. But what we do and how we do it, our programming approach, is really based on the needs of the students that we have. And so ultimately, yes, we want to teach them and have them have an opportunity to experience financial literacy. And nobody wants to talk about it, but everybody wants to have money. Even though now, like this is a day and age where like people are talking about financial literacy on social media more, right? And so now it's like a little bit more, it's a little bit more vocalized, and people are you know, speaking about it. But learning about it, like you go into a classroom and you tell a young person, we're about to learn financial literacy, nobody is with you. Nobody wants to continue the class. And so we do it through the lens of music production, through the lens of filmmaking, through art, through fashion, through illustration, because all of it has an economic foundation, right? There's a business approach to it. There's money to be made in film production, right? Whether you're the talent or behind the scenes, whether you're the producer, whether there's money to be made in sports, right? Whether you're the talent, whether you are owner of the team, you know, whether you're a physical therapist, there's still an opportunity for economic empowerment in every industry. And so that is, you know, the thing that is a foundational common thread. And so we introduce young people to the hard skills and the soft skills of a particular industry and allow them to have the experience of doing that thing. So back in the day when it used to be like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Okay, you can still do that, right? But who I am today, when my birthday was 2 days ago. So who I am, I'm still celebrating. Who I am today is not who I was 10 years ago or 10 years before that. So as an adult, I'm continuing to grow and to evolve, and I have goals that just continue year on year, day by day. Young people are the same, right? And so even though, yes, the theory is, what do you want to be when you grow up? Or what do you want to do later in life? What are you doing today? What do you want to do today? There's no reason why we cannot begin to empower you and give you those tools, or at least the access to them, right? Like I'm heavy on the access. Because for so long, so many of us haven't had access. And so being able to create a level of education first, like making sure you have the knowledge that you need to have as best as we can give it to you. And then, you know, the opportunity and the access, we feel like that's what's going to lead to action. And so creating those platforms for young people based on their interest and on their skills and on their community, and making sure that it's culturally responsive is what we're doing at each one of our programs here as well as globally.
So you've got programs across the city.
Yep.
So tell us where they're located.
So they're in the Bronx,
Yes.
South Bronx, Bronxnet, Brooklyn. So we're in after-school programs. We're in after-school programs in Far Rockaway, but we also have community initiatives that we do with respective organizations, with different chapters of different fraternities and sororities will bring us in to do workshops. We've worked in shelters before. So again, you know, the theme and the focus is economic empowerment, particularly for communities of color and communities that have been marginalized. How we do that and our approach to delivering that, whether it's in an after-school program, whether it's day school lunch and learn programs, whether it's weekend initiatives in community centers, we're open to the approach. And I mean, I'm a producer, so we're gonna curate something.
You're gonna make something.
We're gonna make something happen. Right.
Access. We talked about that just a few seconds ago. Access, because I was talking on my last show about that. Right. I think the biggest problem that we have when it comes to educational equity is access, financial literacy. Access, right? And you watch, and I can imagine the circles that you've danced in, the work that you've done, the places that you've gone, how people could just be able to transition in life, career, simply by access. And so I want you to share a little bit more about that, because after that access is granted to those who are in your program, talk about the light that goes on and what happens from there.
Well, there were so many things that you said that came to my head when you were speaking as it relates to access.
That's
but
a
where
whole
you
show by
ended,
itself, but go
that's
ahead.
a whole show by itself.
Yeah.
But where you ended was the light that goes off in the individuals, and I guess I'll work backwards from there. But I think it's equally important, because this is something that I'm facing right now, and I think as I begin to encounter certain challenges, it helps me to program or reprogram our programming, right? As far as the organization, like, we're not stagnant at all. What we were doing 10 years ago is different from what we're doing now, right? So as we encounter different participants and we start to tweak things. And I think that there is a responsibility when you provide someone with access for them to understand that it is not a privilege, right? And that they are not supposed to just rest on their laurels because they got in the door.
Right.
And it's something that people get spoiled. People get really, really spoiled. And I think that there is still an opportunity for you. I'm talking about, I'm taking it personal. I'm talking about my kids.
Right.
You know what I mean? They get comfortable with the fact that you've been able to create an opportunity for them. And so I'm very, very, I'm very hard on the individuals that come through GWK as far as our cohort, but also our educators, because it really is a collective. Like, it's not just us providing access to young people. It is a level of access that our staff and our leaders get to have as well. And it's really important that when you're provided with that access, that you maximize that opportunity, and that you also take that and hopefully are able to provide access for other people that are in your community, in your circle. And I think that that's how we build a level of cooperative economics and collaborative work. Like, if we continue to take full advantage of the access, but then also continue to help others by granting them a level of access too, not hoarding it.
Right.
Right? Not
many
hoarding the
people do.
education, not hoarding the opportunities, not hoarding it. And it's hard, because historically, when you're talking about a people where there may have been just one bag, right? There's just one bag.
Right.
And now either you're going to get it or I'm going to get it. And I saw that in production in the corporate setting when I am the only one.
Right.
If another woman walked in the room, it's like, wait a minute, is she coming for my seat? Right? Like, that's how you feel.
And then you're on the defensive. It doesn't become, yes.
No, but then when you start to really kind of understand, like the African proverb says, that I can go alone and go fast, but we can go far together, then you approach it a little bit differently.
Right.
So now I see you and I'm like, all right, look.
We can do this.
You see this bag?
Right.
There's more of this. If we are smart and if we come together and if we collaborate, we're stronger together and we can get more together. And I think that mindset, there's a lot of unlearning and relearning as it relates to that because of historic, trauma. Yeah.
Let me come back and take a quick break.
Okay.
Taking a break. Be back with just a few seconds. Be back with Marcelle in just a second, right here on the Social Justice Forum.
There's a new channel to explore, and it's bringing the classics back to life. During the day, relive the Bronxnet originals that sparked conversations and built community. At night, dive into the hip-hop throwbacks that defined a generation. One destination, two powerful lineups. Now playing on Optimum Channel 952, Fios 2138, and streaming at bronxnet.tv. BX Legacy, where history meets the moment.
Okay, we are back. And guess what? We're here with the founder and CEO of Girls with Knowledge, Inc. and Girls with Knowledge Global, Marcelle Lashley-Kaboré. And we thank you so much for being with us and sharing. As we were conversating and conversing, I should say, talking a little bit about the work and the access, I want to go to a time in our history where I think we saw a lot of access. That was during Black Wall Street. And for you, that was an opportunity to really produce.
Yeah.
on Black Wall Street, and it was also a turning point for you at the same time, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Unpack that for me.
Okay. Well, you know, when you understand more about Black Wall Street and that time of us thriving, right, as a collective, particularly in African American history, and then understanding the power behind that, which is why they had to burn it down, right, tear it down, because there's too much power and we're thriving. I think that pulling that into and making that a focus for short film for young people. So that was an example of kind of how we use our experiential learning, right? Giving young people an opportunity to be able to do their own journalistic research, so to speak, and understand Black Wall Street and the history that we experienced as a culture and as a community, and how that impacted us economically, but also socially, right? And meeting one of the last, she's no longer here, but one of the last surviving members of Black Wall Street, and being able to go to her home in Greenburgh and sit at her feet and look at all the historical artifacts that she had around her house and ask her questions. That was a part of the experiential learning that our young people got, right? So it's not just, okay, we're going to teach you about Black Wall Street and what happened.
Right.
All right, no problem. Now we're going to take you there so that you can actually take you to someone who experienced it, so you can meet her and have that connection and that understanding. And again, psychological connection, right? Because now you're like, wait a minute. The stories that this woman's able to tell us about what she experienced, looking at her home and seeing all that, you know, surrounds her on a day-to-day basis. These young people had the opportunity to do that. And then we're, you know, crafting a storyline, right? So let's storyboard this. What do you want people to know about this time, about this period? It began to ignite a fire in them, right? And it's a difference when you tell someone that this situation is inequitable. It's another thing when they get to feel it and see it themselves, but not just from the lens of their life, because when you're raised and born in inequities, you just think that that's normal. It isn't until you get to see the other side of it, or that you hear someone else's experience, that you're like, wait a minute, you know, this is not how it's supposed to be. And it began to light a fire in them. And they then wanted to do the research. They wanted to learn more. They wanted to tell people about what happened during Black Wall Street. And so we began to work on a documentary and take them through the process of that, which then, of course, incorporates the filmmaking aspect, because now they're learning the skills about filmmaking. They're shooting it. They're actually a part of it. And with that, you know, they were able to get an Emmy nomination, but then also an Emmy Award, right? So these are young people, you know, in the Bronx, in Westchester, who have been able to, they're in high school. Well, I think at the time, middle school, right? At the time, working on that middle school, but take this process of not just learning about history, learning about the economic injustices that were faced by African Americans, right? Whether they're African American or not, like, this is knowledge that they need to know about history. They got that filmmaking skills, but then now Emmy Award, you know, and then going to the Emmy, you know, all of that. But this is also part of changing and recharting someone's path, right? And creating that same level of access, like that.
Through exposure.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
That you have this exposure that you would never have.
Yeah, you would never have before.
And exposure is the game changer for a lot of people,
100%.
right? You know, I believe that there's a saying, people perish for lack of knowledge. I call it exposure. I think it's because once you're exposed, then you have the opportunity to, you know, really shape somebody's. Somebody can shape their own narrative, and a better narrative than what they've seen before. I gotta get to the part of, like, you know, you're expanding now because you're global, and we're across the waters here. So talk to me about the global expansion.
Well, I mean, our first cohort of GWK, our first GWK cohort came out of the South Bronx, a school called Kappa on 3rd Avenue. Shout out to Kappa. And our first cohort of 12 were an amazing, diverse group of predominantly West African girls. I have been bicontinental, or I'm bicontinental now as far as living within West Africa and America. But prior to that, I was frequently going to Africa a lot. And my grad school program is China-Europe International Business School. And so our cohorts travel around the world. It's just a part of, like, what my life has been like as far as traveling globally. And I was so familiar, like Africa is a happy place for me, particularly West Africa. I mean, it's a big continent, but West Africa in particular is a happy place for me. So I was extremely excited to have this cohort of young girls that were West African until I got to the program itself and sat with them and began to bond with them and identified that there was a shame that they had in their culture, right? They were ashamed of being West African. And they would try to hide it as best as they could. They would try to, and I think that, again, if you think about this, this is 10 years ago. Africa was not as sexy
As it is
10
today,
years ago
absolutely.
as it is today, right?
Absolutely.
Everybody is embracing it. Again, it has a lot to do with the narrative, the marketing, what people have been told about Africa. But
Right.
now, with the opportunity, people have been able to go and see
for
and
themselves.
understand and
Just
see the
just came
opportunities.
back last week, right?
Where we? Okay, we talked about that. But now we understand. But back then that wasn't the case, right? And these they weren't even first generation Americans. They were foundational Africans that migrated here, but that because of an accent or because of being made fun of or whatever, because they may have looked different or because they were more melanated and they were made fun of, they tried to hide it and they were ashamed of their culture. This is a culture that I'm so proud of, and so I felt that I had an opportunity at that point to make sure that they fell back in love with their country, but also their culture, the way that I've fallen in love with our history and our culture. And so we celebrated that. And with that, it just caused me to take, the opportunity that I have in being bicontinental and having programs abroad so that we can bridge the gap and kind of have an exchange, where I'm able to bring young people from Burkina Faso or young people from Senegal or young people from Ivory Coast or Ghana or Nigeria here, as well as take the students that are here and have them be able to have experiences in those countries. And again, because our programming looks different, it's curated for each respective cohort that's in the countries that they're in.
Got to talk about this real quick. Got two questions because I know we're getting short on time, but I do want to ask you these two questions. Number one, 10 years.
10 years.
Yes.
Yes.
So you got some special things happening.
I do.
Yes.
It's called Tens Across the Borders.
Okay.
It's very simple. And it's, a little bit of a colloquialism because we're like, yes, Tens Across the Borders, right? But Tens Across the Borders is our 10-year anniversary initiative where we are going to find 10 cohorts of 10 young people in 10 countries and mentor them for 10 years.
Okay.
Right? And we're really, really excited about this because the past 10 years has kind of been an unintentional pilot. Like we have done this and we've seen the incremental growth and the success of our young people, and now we want to do this and we want to replicate this over the next 10 years in 10 different countries. With 10 young people. So that will end up being 100 young people, and then every 2 years we'll add another cohort. So by the end of our next 10 years, the impact is, because this is not just, and I just have to say this, it's real cool to have entrepreneurship projects and financial literacy projects and to provide that opportunity for young people. It's a whole different thing to make sure it's sustainable.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
so it's like, we can tell you how to start a business, but can you run it? And can you run it for years? And can you make sure that it grows and that it's successful and that there are jobs and that it really is an economic game changer?
Right.
That's very different. And so we don't want to just have programs where young people have this level of access that we can't continue to help them cultivate and make true sustainable businesses that help to impact society. So that's what we'll be doing.
Power partnership. What kind of partnerships have you been able to form down through the years, just to be able to get to
I mean, we have, obviously support with foundations, and obviously we have a lot of elected officials who have been really supportive of the work that we're doing in their communities, and they've been able to support us, and New York State grants and all of those things. But we need more, right? We obviously, and especially, from a global standpoint, we're really looking for a lot of the large organizations and large companies, particularly those that are expanding abroad, to be able to help support us in championing and in the professional development of these young people, because these are the young people that are going to be helping to stimulate your economies in the respective countries, right? These are the next generation of game changers, and we'd like, some more financial support in helping to raise them.
Absolutely. We could look, financial sustainability. We're
You know what I'm
talking all that
saying?
right here. I got about 3 minutes left, but I do want to get a chance to have an opportunity to talk to you about the young people, right? There may be some out there that's watching and saying, listen, I would love my young person to be attached, be a part of what you're doing. How do they go about doing that?
They can just reach out. We are super accessible. girlswithknowledge.org, girlswithknowledge.com. We're on social, Girls with Knowledge, GWK Global, like all of the things. We keep it consistent so that you can find us, right? Reach out. We are always actively hiring and looking to provide opportunities for adults who are who have lived experience in a particular industry, right? Whether it's filmmaking, whether it's music production, whether it's art, whether it's fashion, whether it's storytelling, writing, like all of the skills. We're looking for individuals who have a level of lived experience, and also young people that we want to be able to connect so that they can have proper mentorship and the proper guidance, especially if they come from families or communities where that isn't prominent right now.
Right. As you look towards the future, obviously it's a little dismal right now in terms of opportunity and things that are going on. A lot of things being cut, but then yet and still you find yourself on the forefront of really providing in the midst of those that are cutting and cutting away.
Yeah.
What does that make you feel like, being able to say that I can give in a situation when the economy, life, and society seems like they're taking back? I'm giving back.
It's a joy and it's a blessing, and I'm grateful. But my mantra and what I'm hoping that everyone gets from this is self-sufficiency. You know what I mean? Like, they're cutting, but if we're self-sufficient, the cuts don't matter, right? And so, the whole purpose of this and the key for economic empowerment and what you saw in Black Wall Street was self-sufficiency. And so I want us to get back to that as a culture so that we can build our own and have our own, and it doesn't matter what, no one can take that away from us.
Do you see Black Wall Street coming back?
In a different way. In a different way, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the mindset of collaboration and us wanting to, maybe not everybody,
Right.
but I'm sure that there's a group of us that are really focused on that level of collaboration and bringing our skills. We can do it a different way.
Oh, thank you. Marcelle, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for doing your own Black Wall Street thing
We've
right
been
here
trying to do a little
with this
something.
platform.
We've been
That's what
trying.
this is.
We've
so.
been doing this for a country minute now, and it's really about exposure and really giving our people the opportunity to tap in. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I
All
appreciate
righty.
that.
Listen, we're at the end of the show. Hope you enjoyed this week's discussion on the Social Justice Forum. If you're rewatching, recatch the cablecast right here on Bronxnet.org. Join the conversation, present your point of view. Visit social media at Bronxnet TV. Join us next week. We're elevating the discussion and bringing further awareness across the globe. I am your host, Daren Jaime, saying take care. God bless. We'll see you soon.